put on the sign until the council has taken final action, but to rescind the motion, the part of the motion that authorizes the mural, to stay.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, to rescind that portion of the motion and defer enforcement action until, further deliberation by council. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Motion carries.
I do have a question.
Yes, sir.
Address or nothing is mentioned on here. Can we do that without that?
Do what?
Can we,
That address of that
if we can rescind the motion,
with
given that,
not in there. It's just talking about
Nothing.
discussion on painted outside wall murals.
You mean on tonight's agenda, is that what you're referring to?
Yeah.
yeah,
It's the name of the business, isn't it?
he's saying, well, item number, the agenda item didn't, it was in the packet. Do I need to rescind my?
No, I think, I'm okay with taking action, in more specific than, did you notify her that they had a
No.
Well, let's table it. We didn't notify her.
I will now withdraw my motion.
Are you sure that's what we need to do? Because we're still gonna have her come back anyway. We're saying we're not gonna make the final decision.
Yeah,
But it's a,
I know, I'm okay with it.
Okay,
I'm okay.
then I withdraw my withdrawal. It's been a long night. Thank you. So the motion does pass. We will, dive into it again at a later date, which I'm sure we're all looking forward to.
but Marvin, you need to have someone, or Steve, someone needs to talk to her about
Please, yes.
that.
Yeah, I will.
Thank you all for your patience.
And ask about the piano.
What's that?
And ask about the piano.
When she was directed, the code's gonna go down there and reinforce it.
Item number 8, discussion and/or action on adopting the integrated stormwater management ISWIM manual as the city specification for drainage system installation and on the city becoming ISWIM certified.
Mayor Pro Tem, City Council, we have this on the agenda to discuss. We brought it before the Stormwater Task Force. It's basically a set of ordinances and codes that were adopted by City, North Central Texas Council of Government. Mickey Thomas was supposed to be here tonight. He's well knowledgeable in all this. And I believe he might have mistaken the meeting and we were going to do this in December. Is that correct, sir?
I don't know.
So one of the questions, I'm not as knowledgeable as he is on this, so if you want to go into detailed questions, I'm asking that we table that till the next meeting.
Give us a brief overview of what
Yes, sir, it's a brief overview for ISWIM is a joint effort by the COG, integrated stormwater ordinance. Our ordinance is a little outdated, and basically what this does is be adopting a formal set of ordinances that are looked at every year as far as the drainage and how it's designed, how a new developer would come in. And for instance, the subdivision, the permits he would need, the design criteria for stormwater itself, and any future improvements that we would do as a city, we would need to design it to describe it.
In other words, the only thing we have right now is our stormwater management plan. It doesn't go into detail. It does mention ISWIM, but it does not go into detail about what those specifications are. I did talk to the lady at ISWIM, and she did tell me that the city could adopt an ordinance like this. If you want the different categories like silver and gold, like Fort Worth and them have, that's a little bit more involved. But to actually adopt the ordinance is not a problem. However, we just really put it on there tonight for discussion and wanted the engineer to present it in more detail than we can.
One of the things he did state was it's not going to be just hand you a book of ordinances. It will be a process, similar to anything like you're updating your planning and zoning or anything like this. It will be a process. It takes about 6 months to go through that process to final adoption and final certification for the ISO.
to stormwater, but as I recall, like Martin mentioned, that he said, for our side of the city, we don't need this full thing with a top.
Yes, yes, he was going to, also be bringing amendments to it, that he suggested that would, more correlate for our city.
He mentioned adopting Fort Worth's amendments, but the problem with that is some of those are more elaborate than we really need here. And I'd rather not do it that way until we have a chance to go through each one of those amendments.
And that's part of the 6-month process, as far as seeing all those, rules and regulations, along with what other cities are doing, amendments, and how that fits for our city.
But we wanted to bring it to your attention to understand that it is something that we really need to be looking into.
We didn't get into it in detail that day, but I think it'd be helpful to us to have him explain what we have and then what this is and how what the difference is and what we're obligating ourselves and others in the future to have. I'd like to have more information on it.
I'll definitely have him there at the next meeting, and he'll also, bring updates to the Stormwater Task Force as we go forward. Thank you.
Thank you. To item number 9, which is discussion and/or action on approval of the interlocal agreement with the City of Fort Worth regarding design and right-of-way acquisitions on the Henry Road improvements. Mark?
I don't know if you had a chance to read the memo that I put in there, but basically what Fort Worth is taking a step back because they don't want to do the eminent domain part of it in River Oaks. So we've talked to Dan Kessler and we've talked amongst ourselves about it, and what we're talking about doing is basically going on and getting certified with TxDOT. Hiring a company to do it is a system cost, and Dan said it won't cost the city anything, and Fort Worth is still willing to stand good to the money aspect of it, of paying the money in.
But they don't, opposite of the last thing they told us is, they don't want to be in the business of acquiring property.
No, not in River Oaks. And everybody feels like this might be the cleaner way to do it, because that way you don't have to fool with going back with what we're transferring it back to us at a later date. So, the problem is now we're going to introduce companies that does that. Dan's going to work with us on getting certified with TxDOT, and none of this is going to take place till that first year anyway. So, that's kind of where we're at on it. We just wanted to update the council, let the council know that the ILA that we had all worked on and the attorneys worked on is obviously not going to be passed.
Well, attorneys don't charge us for interlocal agreements that don't get passed, right?
Yeah, they should.
Okay.
Is that correct, the way I said it?
Thanks, Mark. Yeah, I think that's that was the better way to go forward to me before is if there's property that needs to be acquired in River Oaks needs to handle it. So I think that's better that that's working out that way, even if it's going to take a little bit longer. Thank you, Mark. Okay, we'll move to item number 10, which is consider approval of recommendation from the Stormwater Task Force for surveying and engineering drainage services on Hillside Drive.
On November 21st, the Stormwater Task Force met, and we explained the project to them. In your packet, you have an actual contract from M.J. Thomas Engineering, and if you'll refer to the last page of that contract, it'd be a map, basically showing the limits of the project. It'd be on Hillside in the curve area as you're going there. If you're familiar with that area at all, during the spring and rainy events throughout spring and fall, we have groundwater running out of the hill. Basically what we wanted to do is go in there in that area, right at the street, right in front of the curb, and put a stormwater subsurface drain, like a French drain type, over into, we have an existing stormwater inlet, and so we'll basically extend that stormwater underground piping up into this area and have it drain